Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session, Going Digital with Nurture. I'm just going to run through a quick agenda and some introductions. So we'll start with Kim, who's going to talk about a little bit about Tisski and who we are. We'll then move on to Phil and Laura from Coventry and Warwickshire Growth Hub, who are going to be talking about what it's been like to work with Tisski and how they've used the Nurture application, followed by Alpesh, who will be demonstrating what the Nurture application can do. And finally, some questions and answers. I'll now pass you over to Kim.
Thank you so much, Hannah. And yes, it's Kim. I'm very pleased to be part of this session. So just a brief overview about Tisski. Tisski was founded in 2011 and has since then focused to bring technology and our customers to enrich and ease the sometimes laborious tasks companies may have. Focusing on not only the government, but private and not-for-profit sectors, Tisski has become one of the UK's leading Microsoft Dynamics and ERP consultancies. Not only because of our gold competencies, but because we deliver high-quality projects, Microsoft have invited us to join their inner circle, which is awarded to a small number of partners on an annual basis to recognize their achievements. With more than 100 consultants working with Tisski, and over 100 customers across the public, private, and not-for-profit sectors, Tisski have delivered a broad spectrum of different projects end-to-end. With this experience, we have seen clients sometimes having similar business processes, so Tisski spent some time internally to create accelerators. Nurture, an accelerator implemented at a few of our clients, is designed to assist LEPs, growth hubs, and combined authorities. So the reason I know we're all here is actually to talk about Nurture. So what is Nurture? Nurture is a model-driven Power App accelerator, part of the Microsoft ecosystem. So in smaller words, this is an app tailor-made to help LEPs, growth hubs, and combined authorities to streamline the way that you manage business relationships and the fundings. The solution is online, and without stealing any of the thunder of the demo that we're about to see, the Nurture app allows you to track how you've aided growth. It logs up-to-date information. It shares your data across your organization, which means that you've got one version of the truth. The records are easy to access, and the app is flexible and user-friendly. Another added bonus is with this accelerator, there's no monthly subscription cost, only the license cost for those using the Power App. The Nurture app that you're about to see have been live with Coventry and Warwickshire LEP Growth Hub for some time, and now I'd like to welcome Phil Peake, the Business Development Director for CWLEP Growth Hub, to share with us their journey before then going over to Alpesh Mistry, who's Tisski's Head of Dynamics and Power Platform, to show you the demo of the app. Phil, can I hand over to you?
Good afternoon, everybody. Hope you're all well. Right, I'll quickly run through this. First of all, a bit of background. Coventry Warwickshire Growth Hub, we started in April 2014, so 7 years ago now, which seems about 5 minutes in one sense and about 7 years in another sense. But when we started, we did not have a CRM at all. We literally started on a piece of paper and spreadsheets. So we spent the first few months of that time starting to get our heads around what we needed from a CRM and start to look out to the market, what the possibilities were. One factor we were looking into was that a lot of our local authority partners were running Evolutive. So that was certainly one we explored. But we actually chose in the end to go with Dynamics. We just felt it was that bit more flexible and took us in the direction that we wanted to work with as a growth hub, centered around account management as our core principle. Throughout that process, we got to know the guys and girls at Tisski and really built a relationship there, which has lasted to this day. And certainly in Alpesh, I think you've been involved with us almost from the start. So has been an important part of our journey. So we've certainly working with Tisski, we've found the support to be excellent. Always been there when we needed them. But it's at the same time, one of the reasons we went with Dynamics, it gave us the flexibility to do some work in-house as well. And Laura's on the call. She's actually done a lot of work over the last few years to actually fine-tune the CRM to the way we operate. I will say that up front here, actually, I won't take the credit for the PowerPoint slides here. Laura's done a great job putting these together. So, as I mentioned earlier, one of the points here that we had to contend with, obviously, we're the front door for business support across Coventry and Warwickshire, and most of the partners actually use Evolutive. So it's one thing we looked at straight away, is how we're going to be able to connect the information, the referrals we make from the Growth Hub into those partners and actually track the progress of those referrals through. So that's something we built quite early on and continue to fine tune, but it's working pretty well. So it gave us that flexibility to have the links to other platforms. So that we're able to share the key data with those stakeholders. It's a relatively automatic process. There is a manual intervention in which they request, but there is no need for it. So that work is working pretty efficiently and pretty effectively now. Still, where is work, I think we can do more with that, and that's something that I know Laura is talking to local authorities about. Obviously that's an obvious statement, but that means that the other partners don't need to have Dynamics. So we're using the BAYS data metrics framework as the basis of how we operate the CRM. We're actually constantly cross-checking that. So as that's develops and moves forward, we make sure that our CRM is in line with that. I would actually say it goes further than the data needed by BAYS, but we'd use that as the baseline. So if you look at the pros and cons, what have we found? We've run it for about 6 years now, just over 6 years, the CRM. What have we found? Generally reliable. It's a Microsoft platform at the end of the day. We all use Microsoft equipment in the office, and so it's reliable. It just works. It is robust. We don't have any fundamental problems with it, but it has that flexibility that we felt we needed to actually continue to evolve as the way we operate the customer journey with our clients. It works on mobile platforms, so phones and iPads. I don't think we've exploited that as much as we could and should do yet, but it's certainly, we do use it, and it gives us the ability to actually look at that as a future use and a future flexibility. Generally, it's easy to use. The way it's been developed and designed, it means it's familiar. It's used, and people are used to working with Microsoft products, so there is no particular barriers in terms of usage. And it's adaptable. We can actually, as we've taken on new projects with BAYS, such as the Exit project, Brexit before that, peer networks, etc., we can adapt it as we need it to actually fall in line with those projects as well and enable the reporting from it. The cons of working with Dynamics, and I think this is probably applicable to any CRM, not just Dynamics, is the key thing is you can have the best CRM system in the world. If people don't use it or don't use it properly, then you're going to have a problem. And that's been a constant battle. Battle is perhaps a strong word, but certainly a constant discussion internally, making sure that people actually use it and we actually get that data-rich evidence that we need. So we've tried the carrot and stick approaches, I guess, trying to actually enforce people to use it, trying to actually get mandatory fields in there, etc. But ultimately, it boils down to actually training the people properly, getting them out to use it right from the very start, and make sure that it's part of their KPIs to actually make sure that they use it correctly. And it's sort of allied to that is a little bit, I think in the early days in particular, we went down some blind alleys with Dynamics. We got a little bit carried away. We're looking at some of the workflows and processes and put some things in place, which actually in the end found that weren't actually that usable and didn't really help the customer journey or work efficiently. So we've bounced off some of those, and actually Laura in the last few months has actually cleared some of that stuff out with the help of Tisski. So that's something just to bear in mind. And as I was saying, that discipline is absolutely fundamental. So anybody who's looking to either put in a new CRM from scratch or to actually change their CRM, really get that discipline into the user base right from day one. The earlier you do it, the less pain you will have. I think is absolutely something we've found. We've actually now made it a mandatory part of KPIs. People are assessed on it as part of their daily work. And actually we're starting to get a little bit more consistency now in the way they're operating it. And the other thing we'll also say is, yes, Tisski is there as a support organisation, but at the end of the day, Tisski is Tisski, and we're the Growth Hub. We need someone within the team who's responsible for the CRM and the reporting from it. Currently, that's Laura, done a great job for us over the last few years, and we really recommend to have someone in that position, because they're seeing what's happening day to day, and they're responsible for things like reports coming out of the CRM and seeing what's not been done, more importantly. Tisski, yeah, I mean, obviously I'm not just saying it because we're on the call talking about them, but we have found them a really professional organisation. They've been always there for us when we needed them. As sometimes we've had to sort of ask their help to drop everything. We need something done very quickly, and they've always been there for us. So whoever it is that you work with, that working relationship with the CRM company and developer that you work with is absolutely key, because it's not just put a system in and switch it on. This thing evolves, it changes, it develops. Things, even basic things like Microsoft upgrades. There was a big Microsoft upgrade to Dynamics last year that needed Tiski's help. We couldn't have done it without them. So really recommend that you build a relationship along those lines. I'll probably just leave it there if that's okay, Kim, and back to you guys.
So before I do the demonstration, I'll probably do an overview first before you end up seeing the system. So my name's Alpesh. I head up the Dynamics 365 and Power Platform practice here at Tisski. And I was the person who actually was on site with CWLEP building the solution. It's from 2014 and have been involved in various guises with the customer over a number of years. But what we're going to talk about today is Nurture. And Nurture is built on the Power Platform. And the first thing that's probably worth mentioning is what is the Power Platform. So the Power Platform is the collective name for three apps. Ultimately, it's a tool of applications. Those apps, just in no particular order, is Power BI, so Business Intelligence, which is a reporting tool. And that's a tool that brings together unrelated data sources that can be presented in a coherent, visually immersive, and provide interactive insights. So it's a reporting engine. We have Power Automate, and that's an advanced workflow tool with various connectors from within Microsoft Stack and outside of Microsoft's actual stack, so other desired solutions. And that is actually the go-to tool used by Dynamics 365, which is Microsoft's business application suite of tools. Now, Power Apps. Now, Power Apps is another overarching term. And Power Apps is basically a suite of apps or services, basically. And they are connectors and data platforms which provide what Microsoft call rapid application development. And there are three types of Power Apps. So we have something called a Canvas app, which is a mobile tablet-driven interface into information. And that information could be sitting in a structured format or in other things such as Excel or SharePoint lists. We have what we're going to show you today is a model-driven app, which is a web browser access interface into a data source. It's what we call the Common Data Service, which I'll talk about. The last app is Portal, so you can create a web portal to interact with that data as well very easily. Right, so Dynamics 365 is probably worth mentioning. So Dynamics 365 is the name of what used to be called CRM. The reason it's now called Dynamics 365 is because it's now a suite of business applications which are separated by particular focuses. So we have a complex sales process, a customer service process, etc., as marketing as well, and other things as well. And they are the complex processes that are built on traditional CRMs. And a traditional CRM is where we have started Nurture. So a traditional CRM is what is agreed internationally a common data model. So there is a common data model of accounts, contacts, and activities, which forms an agreed data model in which Microsoft termed the Dataverse. And the Dataverse is what Microsoft used to call Common Data Service. It's basically a central database that stores all information across all their suites of applications in a single place. And the reason for that is, of course, you can share data, which is one of the key drivers, and you can create new apps against that data. So the Dataverse is key for us to know about. And Nurture is basically based on that traditional data model. It's based on the common data model without using any of those sales or customer service complex applications. This is Nurture. So it is a power app, a model-driven app. So this is the interface. So quick overview of the interface itself. We have a left-hand navigation, which shows the records we can click on. We have a toolbar at the top, which gives us ability to set settings, to do searches, to go and add records quickly or call an advanced find. I won't go too much detail into the actual application, but this is a structured app. Basically, it's connected to the common data service, which is Dataverse. So the information all sits within Dataverse here. So I have dashboards. So I've got a view of records or chart of records or another view that is available to me. These are out of the box from Nurture. They can be extended, of course. There are lists of accounts. So the accounts are the businesses that we're interacting with. So we can rename what we call them, but accounts is a default name. So they are organizations, companies, whatever you wish to call them. And we also have contacts in the system, which are the people, the individuals that we're dealing with. And each time I'm doing this, you can see I've got a list of contacts to look at. We can change the view to see all the records in the system. The information you see, it depends on the type of security you have in the system as well, I should mention. The actual list here, subgrid, is something you can easily filter just by clicking on the icon. It works just like Excel. There is a search button and there is an alphabet at the bottom. So what I will do here is open up a record. So AM Manufacturing Limited. Now, the common data model will form information such as the account name, what's your address, is there a primary contact on the record, information such as website information, basic information that we shared across a CRM system globally. So the common data model was agreed between Microsoft, Oracle, IBM, etc. Across the technology landscape. What we have done within Nurture is extended the model to include information that's specific to growth hubs, LEPs, and combined authorities. So it's not in the app natively. It had to be added in there. So we've basically taken the bulk work of adding all information that these particular organisations need to produce or carry out their processes. So in this particular example, the local authority list is at the moment Darlington Borough Council, because that would be a list. The areas are set up as well according to the North East at the moment. We have purposes for inquiry. This is a drop-down list. The drop-down list values are basically configurable as part of an implementation. We have information specific to ERDF. We have company profile specific information in here. So this information not native to CRM, but by typing in a trading address, you've got legal status of businesses, company registration numbers, VAT registration numbers, number of employees, etc. So a lot of information that's specific for this particular industry sector. We also have SIC codes. So SIC codes are within the system as well. So the usual numbers. And what we have done is rather than having a free text, here's a number, we have extended it so you can type number in, but there is a table of that SIC code within the system, and it will retrieve the actual description and any other information you might have against that. So we have, if we click on this record over here against this particular SIC code, we have the section as well as the description according to that number. So it provides more information than a standard CRM would do. Against this record, there are activities. So traditional CRM records have activities, and that is on the right-hand side over here in the timeline. So you've got your appointments, emails, phone calls, tasks, which are your traditional emails and from Outlook, your appointments within Outlook as well. Phone calls, incoming, outgoing can be logged. And there is also a feature to add notes. And a note is an ability also to have more information against this record. And also to add an attachment as well into the system if you wish to. Account management is included in the system. So what we have here is something we've discovered over a number of years, is information we want to capture regarding a referral process. So we know the account manager is their business navigator, the engagement date, last activity date tells us when we last actually interacted with the customer. And finally, on this particular summary page, we have something called assist times. So the assist time is basically all the activities that have been carried out against this customer, this account. So the appointments task having a time duration against it. And every time an appointment or email is sent, this duration is calculated and given against the actual account record. Okay, I will show you a quick overview of the actual contact record as well. So there is a contact linked to a record as well. So over here, we've got myself as a business contact against AM Manufacturing. I can see a quick view of the email address of the person. And if I click on it, I have the actual contact record as well. And this includes contact preferences and various other tools for marketing purposes. This has been slightly modified to include equal opportunities data on the right-hand side. So we've got information regarding this particular person, but it's not as heavily modified as the account record itself. Okay, let's go back to AM Manufacturing Limited. Right, so in addition to that, we have a diagnostics feature in the system. So we do diagnostics against the actual account record. So this is created as what we call a sub-entity or a custom entity or custom table that is linked to the account record. So I've created one already, as I've done most of the demo. So if I click on that, I have information regarding diagnostics. This is the diagnostics that Growth Hub would usually capture against a business, or LEP might want to capture against a business. And this is just a templated example. So of course it can change. You can add more to it. This is what we have at the moment, pre-built into the solution. Going back again, we also have ERDF, this person mentioning. So when ERDF referrals are being managed, we implemented that into the system. So we can just track ERDFs, and that can be integrated elsewhere. And as Phil mentioned, Evolutive was something that you work with and other partners work with, and it could be sent to them. In addition to that, it's probably worth mentioning that there is another way to do this as well in the system, and that's an example of templates. So Word template is the ability to extract information into a document. And you can create your own templates, and they could be personal or it could be organization-wide. I have created just one example from the Coventry and Warwickshire Growth Hub, and this is the way they carry out P13 diagnostic information capture. So if I was to share that, we now have a template. So a template is a template basically what Microsoft Word and Excel provide across those apps. So you have the ability to add templates and use templates. So you can create your own templates, of course, and it's just this one here for business support. And the great advantage here is from a single click, you just create a document and it can grab information from your data source, input it into the template, and you can print it out and capture additional information as well. As we can see, diagnostic over here. If we go back to our actual AM Manufacturing Limited, what we have is a referral entity, sometimes considered a barrier to growth. So this is our main doing part of the system. And here, what we have is some statistics being created at the top. So we've got some auto-calculated fields here that are captured in referral records. So we've got two existing records here already. So if we open one up, and this is a referral record. So this is a custom record in the system, and we capture information for barriers to growth. So what are the reasons for contacting this particular organisation? So we have a list here, again, customizable list, where these are things that are built in there. Are we contacting you about access to finance, Brexit, etc., grants? What is the barrier to growth? That's a free text, and what's the method of how we're going to resolve this or assist this particular organisation. In this case, I've chosen referral. Now, we have a business process flow at the top, and what that means is we capture information in a business process flow, so it's done in a logical manner. So what do we do to initially create a record when we identify the actual referral? So over here, we say collect access to finance, who's the support provider, and method to overcome. And I'll go through a list of support providers as well. So that, again, is a list of records in the system, as you can see on the left-hand side of here. And then you click next, and you go to the next stage of the process, and you enter more information. So what are options? What is the date we've captured this? It will be linked to a manufacturing automatically for you. Is this the business? And who's the referral staff contact? And next stage, so forth, until we get to completion. And that's completed a new stage. We capture information maybe about predicted value added and jobs created. And at the last stage, we have completed date and actual jobs created and actual value added. And this information is all held on referral record. So the whole point of business process flow is to follow a particular logic, but the information is actually held on this particular record itself. So if we go down here, we've got our outcomes. So these are the outcomes we're capturing in this particular referral. So it's about value and creating jobs, or any grants as well being provided. And this is built into the system, and these are all custom fields as part of nurture. Activities are key against this referral because it could go to a third party. So you would have to, of course, create an actual appointment or an email against maybe against the actual organisation or towards a third party partner, and log time against it. As we log time against it and complete it, we are adding that up over here in assist times, and we're tracking the last time we actually made contact. We can, so that is the actual referral record, and there can be many referral records against an organisation. I've got two here, and you can see over here it's also calculating fields. So we have calculated fields that calculate in the background over a period of time or manually when you click recalculate, and you work out how we're doing in terms of referrals. There is additional things going on here. It's worth mentioning. So we have something called business information. So business information is the ability to track further information or historic information against this particular organisation. By default, the system allows us to track turnover, headcount, and various other fields in the system. So what that means is whenever we create a record, we track this information again in another entity called business information. If we were to change that value, we would create another record with a new value. So we will have a historic change of annual turnover headcount held in a separate record, in a business information record. If I was to open a business information record, there are a number of things that we can update in here. And all these fields are held on the account record. And the purpose of the business information is whenever we enter information in any of these fields on the account record, it will create a new or update an existing business information record for that particular date when that change was made. And what that allows us to do, if I go back again, in fact, is to track, of course, the headcount change and annual turnover or any other particular source information that you want to track over a historic period of time. And I'll show you a chart on that later. Before I show you the chart, it's probably worth mentioning business intelligence here. And business intelligence is actually a good example of how the growth of another organisations can quickly react to current business climate. And what I mean there, of course, is Brexit and coronavirus at the moment, but it's what we've done here, or what we've done with the growth up as well, is create a record to capture information specific to the current business trends. Is information capture. It was a quickly created record, lots of information that can be captured on a record. And the Power Platform is very powerful. So and it depends on how any organisation works. So it is, of course, can be captured on a record in a system where you can ask these questions over a telephone. It can be done via mobile app and captured on site if that's an option, or as part of this whole suite of tools as Power Platform. It might not be a case of a member of staff captures information. It could be a survey, and a survey could be created using a tool called Customer Voice and is sent out by email, and that information is captured in that way. Okay, on the left hand side, before I go into business information charts, we have, I mentioned support providers. So support providers are configured in the system. Like many entities or records in the system, they are created, they're created rather than drop-down lists, they're created as records. So we have two types of information selection sometimes. So we've got a drop-down list of records where you can add more or remove values from there, or we have what we call custom records. And the great thing about a custom record is that you can add to it without doing any onerous customization to the system. It's just a recording system, and then once you've added it, it's done. If it's no longer relevant, such as European Regional Development Fund, which will become irrelevant in a few years, and you can deactivate it. But deactivate it means you can no longer select for new records, but it still exists for your historic records. Business information. So the great thing about business information is charts and dashboards, just as anything else about data is about charts and data dashboards. So what I want to show you here is something that's available across the platform. So whenever you have a subgrid, I did mention you can filter at the top, but you also have the ability to show charts, and you can create your own charts in the system. And nurture, we have included 2 charts here. So we've got annual turnover by information date, headcount by information date for business information. Now this, of course, is basically a report on all information on the left-hand side, which is every organisation, which is not what I want to see right now. I want to see information just about AM manufacturing. So I can choose AM manufacturing and filter that information on the actual subgrid, and then my chart is reflective of that. So what I now see is the annual turnover by the date information was captured for AM manufacturing, and we can see growth there for annual turnover, and the same for headcount, and we can see growth there. So it's very easy to create charts against information you have in the system. If the information is in there, you can chart it, and all this, and this chart itself could then be added to a dashboard. And a dashboard can be grid or e-referral. So another example down here is we just got active referrals by fiscal year, and there's 3 owned by Jessica Salmon and 2 owned by myself. That is the Nurture application in general. So I will open up to questions now. So and in fact, before we open questions, I want to show one more thing. So I will stop there. I mentioned portals. I did mention portals. So I haven't shown you a portal, but I have got a customer system to show. So we have an existing customer who has used a portal for expression of interest. So it's a web page. So Dynamics 365 Powerapps, Powerapps model-driven Canvas app and portal are, of course, part of the suite of tools. The Powerapps Portal is a quick and easy user interface, to drag and drop interface for creating web pages. It's an ability for potentially customers signing in and editing records without creating web pages yourself. It's easy to configure and allows you to create username and passwords to log in to a portal. So what we have here is just a web page, a simple expression of interest page to capture information into RCM. So it's nothing more complicated than that, but it shows you how quick and easy it is just to add an external interface to your system. And this is part of the actual Power platform rather than the Nurture application. Nurture application sits on the actual Power platform. So all these tools are there to extend onto the actual data set.
Thank you for watching this session. If you'd like any more information on anything you've heard during this video, please get in touch by contacting Kim, hello@tisski.com, or visiting our website at tisski.com/nurture.